Across the world, from Stonehenge to Easter Island, massive stone structures stand as if daring us to explain them. Built thousands of years ago, with no modern machines, their size and precision still baffle experts today. So the question is, how did ancient people achieve the impossible? In this video, we're diving deep into the enigma of the megalithic structures worldwide. These are not just piles of rocks. They are engineering marvels that connect us to the distant past. From Peru's towering walls to Japan's hidden stone chambers, each megalith carries a story of human creativity, resilience, and mystery. Stay with me, because over the next hour, we'll explore the most fascinating sites across continents, uncover the theories behind their construction, and reveal why these ancient giants still matter in our modern world. By the end, you'll see history not just as something old and distant, but as a living puzzle we're still trying to solve. Chapter 1. The Global Puzzle. When we think of ancient monuments, most of us imagine pyramids or castles. But megalithic structures are something different. These are massive stones, often weighing dozens or even hundreds of tons, arranged in ways that still make engineers scratch their heads. What makes them truly fascinating is that they appear almost everywhere. In England, there's Stonehenge, a circle of giant stones that perfectly align with the sunrise on the summer solstice. Thousands of miles away in the Pacific Ocean, Easter Island's mysterious Moai statues gaze silently across the land. Travel to South America, and you'll find the massive fortress walls of Peru, where stones fit together so precisely you can't even slide a piece of paper between them. And in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe reveals an ancient temple that predates the invention of farming itself. These sites span different continents, cultures, and timelines. Yet they share something extraordinary, a universal human fascination with stone. It wasn't the easiest material to work with. It was heavy, stubborn, and dangerous. But stone endures, and perhaps that's why people chose it. These megaliths were not just structures. They were symbols meant to last for thousands of years. And here's the real puzzle. How did civilizations separated by oceans, languages, and centuries arrive at such similar ideas, creating massive stone monuments with strikingly precise designs? Was it coincidence? Or does it point to something deeper about human creativity and survival? That's the mystery we'll begin to unravel in this journey. If one of the most famous of these sites, Stonehenge, could act like a celestial clock, then maybe these stones weren't just monuments at all. Maybe they were tools. So, let's begin where the mystery shines brightest. The rolling plains of England. Chapter 2. Stonehenge. The celestial clock. Few ancient monuments capture the imagination quite like Stonehenge, rising from the misty plains of Wiltshire in southern England. It looks both haunting and majestic, a circle of towering stones, weathered by time yet still standing tall. For centuries, travelers, poets, scientists, and ordinary people have looked at these stones and asked the same question: why are they here? At first glance, Stonehenge appears deceptively simple. Giant stones placed upright in a ring. But once you begin to look closer, the site becomes more mysterious. The stones themselves fall into two groups: Megaliths, the larger ones, called sarsens, weigh up to 25 tons each and are believed to have been dragged from Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles away. That's already an incredible feat for people without carts, iron tools, or machinery. But then there are the smaller blue stones, each weighing up to 4 tons, which came from the Preseli Hills in Wales, nearly 150 miles away. Just pause and think about that. How do you move multi-ton stones across rivers, valleys, and rough terrain thousands of years ago? Some researchers think they were transported on wooden sledges over logs or even floated part of the way on rafts down rivers. Others argue that ice sheets may have carried them closer during the Ice Age. Either way, the effort required was staggering. This wasn't a weekend project. This was generations of commitment. And the construction didn't happen all at once. Archaeologists believe Stonehenge evolved over at least 1,500 years. The earliest phase, around 3100 BCE, began with a circular ditch and wooden posts. Later, the iconic stone circle was raised. Over centuries, adjustments were made, stones rearranged, additional structures added, ceremonial pathways built. This tells us something crucial. Stonehenge was not just a monument, it was a tradition. Each generation returned to it, reshaping it, reinforcing its meaning, and passing down its purpose. But the true genius of Stonehenge lies in its design. Every year, on the summer solstice, the sun rises in perfect alignment with the monument's heel stone and main entrance. On the winter solstice, the sun sets directly opposite. Imagine standing there thousands of years ago, watching the sun line up precisely with stones you and your community had dragged, carved, and raised. It must have been a moment of awe, a cosmic event written in stone. For this reason, many scholars believe Stonehenge functioned as a kind of astronomical observatory, a way for ancient people to track the passage of the seasons. And in a world without calendars, knowing the solstices wasn't just about curiosity, it was about survival. The solstice told communities when winter was coming, when to plant, and when to harvest. Stonehenge may well have been humanity's first clock, one that used the heavens as its hands. But the monument may have served other purposes too. Evidence suggests it was used as a burial ground. Excavations have uncovered cremated remains dating back thousands of years. Some scientists think it may have been a pilgrimage site where people gathered from far and wide, not only to celebrate the sun, but also to honor their dead. Others believe it may have been a place of healing, drawing people with illnesses or injuries to seek cures in its sacred landscape. And Stonehenge is not alone. The surrounding countryside is dotted with burial mounds, avenues, and other stone monuments. Together, they form a vast ceremonial complex, a sacred landscape. Stonehenge wasn't just a ring of stones standing by itself. It was part of a much larger spiritual map. What fascinates modern archaeologists is that even though we now know so much about the site, its stones, its alignments, its gradual construction, we still don't fully understand its purpose. Was it practical, spiritual, political, or all of these combined? That uncertainty is part of what makes it so powerful. Even today, thousands of people gather every summer solstice at Stonehenge. As the first rays of the sun break across the horizon and spill through the stones, the crowd cheers, dances, meditates. For a moment, they are connected not just to each other, but to the countless generations who once looked at the same sunrise in the same place. The monument is alive. So Stonehenge stands as both a riddle and a reminder. A riddle, because we still cannot answer all of its questions. And a reminder, because it shows us that even in the deep past, humans looked up at the sky and tried to understand their place in the universe. But while Stonehenge marks the heavens on a remote island thousands of miles across the Pacific, another culture turned their eyes not to the sky, but to the ancestors who came before them. Towering faces carved in stone still gaze over the land. Let's travel now to Easter Island. Chapter 3. The Mysteries of Easter Island, far out in the Pacific Ocean. More than 2,000 miles from the nearest continent lies one of the most isolated inhabited islands on Earth. Easter Island, or as the local Rapa Nui people call it, Rapa Nui. It is a tiny speck of land, just 15 miles long, but it holds one of the greatest archaeological enigmas of all time: the Moai statues. When most people picture Easter Island, they imagine these massive stone heads rising from the ground, staring silently into the distance. But here's the surprising truth. They aren't just heads. Almost all of the Moai actually have full torsos buried beneath the soil, some reaching heights of up to 30 feet. The largest Moai ever carved, called El Gigante, would have stood nearly 70 feet tall and weighed over 200 tons if it had ever been completed. Now, here's the puzzle. Why would a small island community with limited resources invest so much energy into creating hundreds of colossal statues? The answer seems to lie in the Moai's cultural and spiritual meaning. These figures were representations of deified ancestors, chiefs, leaders, or important figures who continued to watch over the living even after death. The Moai were not just statues, they were guardians. They were believed to hold spiritual power called mana, protecting villages and blessing the land. But carving these giants was only half the challenge. Moving them across the rugged island landscape was perhaps the greatest feat of all. The statues were quarried at Rano Raraku, an ancient volcanic crater. From there, they had to be transported to ceremonial platforms, or ahu, scattered across the coastline. Some of these journeys stretched for miles. For decades, people speculated about how the islanders managed to move stones weighing tens of tons without wheels, cranes, or draft animals. Early explorers imagined that trees were cut down to create wooden rollers, which may have contributed to the deforestation of the island. But in recent years, experimental archaeology has offered another intriguing possibility. In 2012, researchers tested the theory that the Moai may have been walked into place using ropes. By tying ropes around a statue and having teams rock it forward from side to side, they were able to make the figure move upright across the ground, almost as if it was alive, walking to its destination. This experiment gave new weight to local legends, which had always claimed that the Moai walked to their platforms. Whether literal or metaphorical, the image of these statues walking across the island captures the imagination. The platforms themselves, the ahu, are just as fascinating. They were ceremonial sites where communities gathered for rituals, ancestor worship, and social bonding. Each clan on the island had its own ahu, with moai statues facing inland toward the villages, as if to keep watch over the people. In a sense, the entire island became a sacred landscape populated by stone ancestors who never looked away. But the story of Easter Island is not only one of triumph, it is also a cautionary tale. The effort to carve and transport the moai required massive amounts of wood, rope, and manpower. Over centuries, the island's forests were cut down, leading to soil erosion and loss of resources. This environmental decline, combined with conflict and European contact, brought hardship to the Rapa Nui people. For a time, many statues were toppled during internal strife. The proud guardians fell face down, and their silence became heavier than ever. Yet today, the moai still stand. Many have been re-erected by archaeologists and local communities, and they remain powerful symbols of resilience and cultural identity. Tourists travel thousands of miles just to glimpse their faces. For the Rapa Nui people, the statues are not relics. They are living connections to their ancestors. And here's what makes Easter Island so remarkable. Despite its isolation, its culture produced some of the most extraordinary monuments of the ancient world. It shows us that human creativity is not limited by geography. Even in the farthest corners of the earth, people found ways to leave their mark in stone. But Easter Island was not alone in its fascination with massive stones. On the other side of the world, high in the Andes of South America, another civilization carved mountains of stone into walls so precise that modern engineers still marvel at them. Let us journey now to Peru, to the fortress of and the lost city of Machu Picchu. Chapter 4. The Andean Marvels Machu Picchu. Now we travel to the highlands of South America, where the Andes Mountains stretch like a backbone across Peru. Here, among jagged peaks and thin mountain air, the Inca civilization left behind some of the most astonishing stonework in human history. And nowhere is this more evident than in the fortress-like walls of and the breathtaking city of Machu Picchu. Let us begin with standing above the city of Cusco, once the capital of the Inca Empire. Its massive walls are made of stones, so large and so perfectly fitted together that even today you cannot slide a sheet of paper between them. Some of these stones weigh more than 100 tons, and yet they interlock like pieces of a puzzle. Without the use of mortar, the scale is almost unbelievable. Imagine cutting, transporting, and positioning blocks the size of small houses, all without wheels or iron tools. The Incas had only bronze and stone chisels, yet their craftsmanship achieved a level of precision that baffles modern engineers. Each stone was carefully shaped to fit its neighbors in a unique pattern, so tight and irregular that the wall has withstood centuries of earthquakes. While nearby buildings crumbled in seismic tremors, the walls have remained standing, their stones absorbing and dispersing shock like a perfectly engineered system. Archaeologists believe was more than a fortress. It may have been a ceremonial center, a symbol of Inca power, and a place where rituals and festivals were held. Standing at its terraces, overlooking the city of Cusco below, one can imagine the grandeur of the Inca Empire at its height. But the mystery remains. How did they move stones of such staggering size? Some theories suggest they used ramps and hundreds of laborers with ropes. Others think the Incas may have softened the rock with natural acids, making carving easier, though there is little hard evidence for this. What is certain is that the work required not only physical strength, but also extraordinary organization and communal effort. Now let's travel further into the Andes, to a site that captures the world's imagination, perhaps even more than Machu Picchu. Hidden among cloud forests at nearly 8,000 feet above sea level, Machu Picchu is often called the lost city of the Incas. Rediscovered by the outside world in 1911 by American explorer Hiram Bingham, it has since become a symbol of both mystery and beauty. Machu Picchu was built in the 15th century during the reign of the Inca Emperor Pochacity. What makes it remarkable is not only its setting, perched on a narrow ridge between steep mountains, but also its design. The city contains more than 150 buildings, including temples, houses, terraces, and fountains. Once again, the stonework is astonishing. Finely cut granite blocks fitted together without mortar, withstanding centuries of harsh weather. The terraces carved into the mountainside reveal the Incas' deep understanding of agriculture. They created a system that prevented erosion, conserved water, and allowed crops to flourish in an otherwise challenging environment. Sophisticated channels directed mountain springs into fountains and baths, providing fresh water to the city. Every element of Machu Picchu feels purposeful, as though the builders were harmonizing with the landscape rather than fighting against it. But what was Machu Picchu for? Archaeologists still debate its purpose. Some believe it was a royal estate for Pochacity, a retreat away from the bustling capital. Others suggest it was a sacred center, with temples aligned to astronomical events. One of its most famous features, the Intihuatana stone, is thought to have been used as a solar clock, marking the equinoxes and solstices. Once again, as with Stonehenge, we see how ancient peoples tied their monuments to the movement of the heavens. What makes Machu Picchu even more fascinating is its survival. When the Spanish conquistadors invaded Peru in the 16th century, they never found Machu Picchu. Hidden by jungle and mountains, it remained untouched, preserved like a time capsule of the Inca world. Today, it stands not only as a tourist attraction, but as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, reminding us of the ingenuity and resilience of a civilization that, though conquered, left an indelible mark on history. Together, and Machu Picchu show us two sides of Inca genius: the power of massive stone fortresses and the elegance of a mountaintop city. They are proof that human determination can move mountains, sometimes literally. But while the Incas carved their mountains, another ancient site half a world away challenges everything we thought we knew about early civilization. Built thousands of years before the pyramids by people who didn't even farm, it raises a question. Did religion come before civilization itself? To answer that, we must travel to Turkey, to the mysterious ruins of Göbekli Tepe. Chapter 5. Easter Island, the silent giants of the Pacific, far out in the Pacific Ocean lies one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth, Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, and here, scattered across the landscape, stand nearly 1,000 massive stone statues. Known as the moai, some of these statues weigh over 80 tons and are as tall as a 5-story building. But the real mystery isn't just their size, it's how they were moved. These moai were carved from volcanic rock at a quarry miles away from where they now stand. Imagine trying to transport something the size of a small building across rough terrain without wheels, without modern machinery, and with only ropes, wood, and manpower. Some researchers suggest they used log rollers or sleds, but the island didn't have an abundance of trees. In fact, deforestation may have been partly caused by these construction efforts. Others believe the statues were walked into place by rocking them side to side with ropes, like moving a refrigerator. In fact, modern experiments have shown it's possible, but it requires extreme coordination and strength. But then we face another puzzle. Why build them at all? The statues seem to represent ancestral chiefs or deified ancestors. Many were positioned to face inland, watching over villages, almost like eternal guardians. Their backs turned to the sea, their eyes on the people. Yet the mystery deepens. Some moai had massive stone hats, called pukao, placed on top of their heads. These cylindrical stones could weigh up to 12 tons. How were they lifted and balanced onto the heads of statues already standing over 30 feet tall? Even today, engineers scratch their heads at this feat. And here's where it gets eerie. The islanders' oral traditions speak of a supernatural force called mana, a spiritual energy that could give objects power. Some legends suggest the moai walked themselves into place, powered by this mystical energy. The decline of Rapa Nui society only adds more mystery. Was it environmental collapse, conflict, or European contact that ended their statue-building tradition? Or was it something we still don't fully understand? And just when you think the moai mystery is solved, remember this. A few years ago, researchers discovered that many of these statues aren't just heads. They have buried bodies that extend deep underground. This revelation shocked the world. What else might still be hidden beneath the soil of Rapa Nui? If these statues were meant to connect the islanders with their ancestors, what does it say about the other megaliths around the world? Could there be a shared idea, an ancient code of building giant stones that linked civilizations oceans apart? Chapter 6. The Pyramids Beyond Egypt. A global phenomenon. When most people hear the word pyramid, their minds instantly go to Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Standing proudly on the desert plateau. One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But here's a fascinating truth. Egypt doesn't have a monopoly on pyramids. From the sands of Sudan to the jungles of Central America, from the mountains of China to forgotten landscapes in Europe, pyramids appear across the globe. And what's most mysterious is this. Many of these civilizations had no contact with each other. They all built massive pyramid-like structures. Why? Coincidence? A universal architectural idea? Or perhaps evidence of a deeper shared human connection? Let's begin the journey. The forgotten pyramids of Sudan, just south of Egypt, in the ancient land of Nubia, lies Sudan. Here, in the desert, are more pyramids than in all of Egypt combined. These are the pyramids of Meru, built by the Kingdom of Kush around 2,500 years ago. Unlike the giant, smooth pyramids of Egypt, the Nubian pyramids are much narrower and steeper, often rising to sharp points. The Kushite kings and queens built these pyramids as tombs, just like the Egyptians. But while Egyptian pyramids are world-famous, Sudan's pyramids remain almost unknown to the outside world. Why? Perhaps because history was written by Egypt's conquerors, and the story of Kush was buried in the sands of time. And yet, when you walk among the Meru pyramids today, you can't help but feel their power. Hundreds of them stand in clusters, silent and imposing, guarding the secrets of a civilization that once rivaled Egypt. Mini-hook, but pyramids weren't just limited to Africa. Let's cross the ocean to the Americas, where an entirely different world of pyramids rises. The step pyramids of Mesoamerica, in the heart of Central America. Civilizations like the Maya and Aztec built breathtaking pyramids not as tombs, but as temples. Take near modern-day Mexico City. Here stands the Pyramid of the Sun, a colossal structure 200 feet tall. With a base nearly as large as the Great Pyramid of Giza. At its peak, it offered a commanding view of the Avenue of the Dead, a massive ceremonial boulevard lined with temples and smaller pyramids. Unlike the Egyptians, the builders here weren't focused on death, but on cosmos, gods, and sacrifice. These pyramids were platforms for rituals where priests offered ceremonies to the gods of the sun, moon, and rain. Even more mysterious is the alignment of these pyramids. Many are built in perfect harmony with celestial events, the rising of the sun on solstices, the movement of stars like Orion, and even the cycles of Venus. It's as if the builders were creating stone calendars, linking earth and sky in perfect synchronization. The Maya pyramids, such as those that go one step further. During the equinox, the sun casts a shadow on the staircase of the Pyramid of El Castillo, creating the illusion of a serpent slithering down its steps. This was no accident, it was advanced astronomy carved into stone. Mini-hook. And here's the puzzling part: how could civilizations separated by oceans, with no known contact, both build pyramids aligned with the stars? Let's travel even further, to Asia, to uncover more. The hidden pyramids of China in China's Shanxi province. Near the ancient city of Xi'an lie dozens of massive pyramid-like mounds. For decades, the Chinese government kept them hidden, covered in trees and grass, dismissing them as mere burial mounds. But satellite imagery has revealed something extraordinary. Some of these structures are nearly as large as the Egyptian pyramids. The mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, famous for the terracotta army, is itself a massive pyramid-shaped tomb. What's more, ancient texts speak of palaces of gold and rivers of mercury inside these tombs, an idea confirmed when scientists detected unusually high levels of mercury in the soil around them. Unlike Egypt or Mesoamerica, these Chinese pyramids are still largely unexplored, sealed off by the government. Which raises the question, what secrets lie buried within? Could these hidden monuments rewrite what we know about ancient Chinese civilization, perhaps about pyramid building itself? A universal idea or a lost connection? So why do pyramids appear all over the world? One explanation is simple. Pyramids are practical. A wide base and narrowing top make them stable structures, easy to build large and tall without collapsing. Maybe each culture discovered this shape independently. But another possibility is far more intriguing. Pyramids were not just structures, they were spiritual machines. They connected heaven and earth, serving as tombs, temples, or cosmic observatories. And here's the kicker. Many of them, across continents, share astronomical alignments. Whether it's the stars of Orion in Egypt, the path of the sun in Mesoamerica, or cosmic symbolism in China, pyramids consistently link human life to the heavens. Was this a coincidence? Or was there an ancient global exchange of ideas, perhaps a forgotten chapter of human history we've yet to uncover? If pyramids worldwide connect the living with the stars, then what about the mysterious stone circles of Europe? Could they be part of the same global tradition, pointing us toward a deeper enigma hidden in plain sight? Chapter 7. The Stone Circles of Europe. Timeless calendars in stone across the windswept landscapes of Europe. Mysterious rings of stone rise from the earth, silent, massive, and ancient. These are the stone circles, monuments like Stonehenge in England, Karnak in France, and hundreds of lesser-known sites scattered across Britain, Ireland, and beyond. Unlike pyramids, these structures don't tower into the sky. Instead, they form giant open-air spaces, their stones arranged with uncanny precision. But here's the puzzle. Why build them? And how did prehistoric people achieve such accuracy without metal tools, wheels, or written records? Stonehenge, the icon of mystery. Let's start with the most famous Stonehenge. Located on Salisbury Plain in southern England, Stonehenge consists of enormous upright stones arranged in concentric circles. Some of these stones, called sarsens, weigh up to 25 tons each. Others, the so-called blue stones, were transported from Wales nearly 150 miles away. Think about that for a second. Prehistoric people moved multi-ton stones across rivers, valleys, and hills without carts or horses. Archaeologists believe they may have used wooden sledges, ropes, and sheer manpower. But even so, the effort would have been monumental. And then comes the alignment. On the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises precisely over the heel stone, a massive stone placed outside the main circle. On the winter solstice, the shortest day, the sun sets in perfect alignment with the stones at the circle's center. This isn't coincidence. It's astronomy carved into the earth, a prehistoric calendar that tracked the cycles of the sun, guiding agriculture, rituals, and perhaps even spiritual beliefs. Beyond England, the megalithic web Stonehenge is just one piece of a larger puzzle. Across Europe, hundreds of stone circles and alignments exist. In Karnak, France, thousands of stones stretch across the landscape in rows and clusters. Some are massive, others small, but together they create one of the largest megalithic sites in the world. Their purpose remains debated. Were they markers of the stars, territorial boundaries, or ritual centers? In Scotland and Ireland, stone circles like Callanish and Drombeag show the same fascination with the heavens. Many align perfectly with lunar cycles or equinox sunrises. It's as if prehistoric Europe was part of a shared cultural network, each community building stone monuments that connected them to the cosmos. Tools, techniques, and mysteries. Here's where the mystery deepens. These circles were built around 4,000 to 5,000 years, long before written history in Europe. The builders had no wheels, no cranes, and no advanced tools. Yet they cut, moved, and raised stones weighing as much as a double-decker bus. How did they achieve such precision? Were they guided purely by observation, watching the sun and moon year after year until the patterns were clear? Or did they possess a body of knowledge passed down through generations that we've since forgotten? Some researchers suggest that sound, acoustics, and ritual played roles. Standing inside these circles, the echoes and vibrations create unique effects, as if the stones themselves were amplifiers for ceremonies. Rituals, beliefs, and the human spirit's stone circles were more than just calendars. They were gathering places, sites of ceremony, ritual, and perhaps even burial. Human remains, animal bones, and ceremonial objects have been found buried beneath and around the stones. For the people who built them, these circles were not just physical structures, they were spiritual landscapes. Places where earth and sky met, where the community came together to connect with forces larger than themselves. A shared tradition. And here lies the big question. Why do these European stone circles resemble other megalithic traditions around the world? The circular form, the astronomical alignments, the sheer effort to move massive stones all appear in sites thousands of miles apart. Is this simply human curiosity, repeating itself in different places? Or does it suggest something deeper, shared ancient knowledge about how to connect with the universe through stone? If Europe's stone circles were calendars, temples, and spiritual centers, what about the even more mysterious structures in like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the world's oldest known megalithic site? Could it hold the key to understanding where this global tradition of stone building truly began? Chapter 8. Göbekli Tepe, the world's first temple high on a hill in southeastern Turkey. Buried for thousands of years beneath layers of earth, lies one of the most astonishing discoveries in archaeology. Göbekli Tepe, dating back to around 11,000 years ago, long before the pyramids of Egypt. Stonehenge, or even the invention of writing Göbekli Tepe, is believed to be the world's oldest known temple. Its age alone shatters our understanding of history. For decades, scholars believed humans of that era were simple hunter-gatherers, wandering the land with no permanent structures. But Göbekli Tepe tells a different story. Here, in the Stone Age, humans created massive stone monuments on a scale previously thought impossible. The discovery that changed everything. In the 1960s, archaeologists noticed strange mounds in the Turkish countryside, but they were dismissed as unimportant. Then, in the 1990s, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began excavations, and what he uncovered stunned the world. Underneath the soil were circular enclosures with towering T-shaped stone pillars, some over 16 feet tall and weighing up to 10 tons. Many of these pillars were decorated with intricate carvings, animals, birds, snakes, lions, even abstract symbols. These weren't random scratches, they were deliberate, symbolic art from a time when humans supposedly didn't even have farming yet. This raised a profound question. If humans were still hunters and gatherers, how did they organize the workforce, knowledge, and time to build such structures? The mystery of purpose. What was Göbekli Tepe for? Unlike later temples, there's no evidence of homes or villages nearby. People didn't live here. They came here, gathered, and performed rituals. That's why scholars call it the world's first temple. Some believe it was a place of ancestor worship, where tribes gathered to honor spirits and gods. Others argue it was a place of initiation and ceremony, bringing together different groups of hunter-gatherers in a shared spiritual experience. But here, it's a shocking twist. The effort needed to build Göbekli Tepe may have been the spark that led to the invention of agriculture. Instead of farming leading to complex societies, as we long believed, Göbekli Tepe suggests the reverse. Religion and ritual may have driven humans to settle, farm, and build civilization. Engineering feats of the Stone Age. Think about the challenge. These people had no metal tools, no wheels, no domesticated animals to help haul stone. And yet they carved, transported, and raised enormous pillars, weighing tons. How some theories suggest they used levers, ropes, and manpower. Others point to sledges on logs. But whatever the method, it required planning, organization, and cooperation on a scale we never imagined possible for Stone Age societies. And the artistry of the carvings, detailed depictions of animals like vultures and foxes, suggests not just technical skill, but also a sophisticated symbolic worldview. The burial of Göbekli Tepe. One of the strangest mysteries is that Göbekli Tepe wasn't destroyed by war or natural disaster, was deliberately buried around 8,000 years ago. The people who built it carefully covered the site with earth, almost as if they wanted to preserve it for the future. Why? Was it a ritual closure? The end of an era? Or was it an intentional act to protect something sacred? To this day, no one knows. A window into forgotten knowledge, Göbekli Tepe forces us to rethink everything about human history. It shows that spirituality and ritual may have come before farming, not after. It proves that so-called primitive societies were capable of monumental architecture. It suggests that humans, even in the Stone Age, were connected by shared ideas of the sacred. And here's the most tantalizing thought. If Göbekli Tepe survived for us to find, what about other sites that may still be buried, waiting to rewrite history? If Göbekli Tepe is the beginning of humanity's megalithic journey, what about the colossal temples of Malta, which predate even Stonehenge and rival Göbekli in mystery? Could these islands hold the next piece of the puzzle in humanity's forgotten story? Chapter 9. The Temples of Malta, Islands of Stone in the heart of the Mediterranean. Between Sicily and North Africa lies the small island nation of Malta. Today, it's famous for its beaches and historic cities. But hidden across its rocky landscape is one of the greatest archaeological enigmas of Europe, the megalithic temples of Malta. These structures, some dating back more than 5,000 years, are among the oldest freestanding stone monuments in the world. That means they predate Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids. And yet, unlike those famous sites, the temples of Malta remain relatively unknown to most of the world. An ancient world carved in stone. The Maltese temples, such as Kagar, Kim, Najdra, and Tarkseen, are built from massive limestone blocks. Some stones weigh more than 20 tons. The builders arranged them in complex, interconnected chambers, often with curved organic shapes resembling the inside of a womb. This design has led scholars to believe the temples were places of fertility rituals dedicated to a great mother goddess. Archaeologists have found statues of large, rounded female figures inside the temple's symbols of fertility, birth, and life. But the mystery goes deeper. The temples aren't just stone huts, they are astronomically aligned. At Najdra, for example, the temple's doorway frames the rising sun precisely on the equinoxes, marking the change of seasons, just like Stonehenge. And these ancient builders were carefully tracking the heavens. Engineering without wheels, the big question is, how did the Maltese people build these temples? At the time, they had no metal tools, no wheels, and no draft animals. Yet they carved, transported, and lifted stones heavier than elephants. Archaeologists believe they may have used stone hammers and rolled the blocks on round stones, but the precision of their construction still amazes experts today. The sheer effort required suggests a society highly organized with specialized knowledge. These weren't simple farmers experimenting with stone, they were master builders with a vision. The Hypogeum of Calciflini. Perhaps the most mysterious structure in Malta is not above ground, but beneath it, the Calciflini Hypogeum. This underground complex, carved directly into the rock, is a labyrinth of chambers and passageways that descend 3 stories deep. Dating back around 4000 BCE, it served as both a temple and a necropolis, containing the remains of thousands of individuals. Inside, the acoustics are astonishing. Sounds made in the oracle room resonate at a frequency that can be felt throughout the entire structure. Some researchers believe this was intentional design to create powerful, trance-like experiences during rituals. And then there's the mystery of the elongated skulls found within the hypogeum. Early excavations uncovered unusually shaped skulls that sparked speculation about ritual practices or perhaps even lost human lineages. While many of these skulls later disappeared, the mystery continues to fuel debate. A civilization that vanished. The people who built Malta's temples flourished for centuries, creating one of the most advanced cultures of the Neolithic world. But around 2500 BCE, this society mysteriously collapsed. The temples were abandoned, and the island's population declined sharply. Why? Some suggest climate change, deforestation, or resource shortages. Others believe cultural upheaval or outside invasions may have played a role, but the truth remains unknown. All that is left are the temple's silent witnesses to a forgotten civilization that achieved wonders long before the rise of Egypt or Mesopotamia. Malta's place in the megalithic puzzle, the temples of Malta fit into the broader pattern we've seen. Massive stones, precise alignments, spiritual symbolism, and sudden collapse. They suggest that the urge to build with stone, to reach for the heavens, and to connect with unseen powers was not isolated, but part of a global tradition. And here's the fascinating part. Malta sits right in the middle of the Mediterranean, a crossroads of cultures. Could it have been a bridge carrying megalithic knowledge between Europe, Africa, and the Near East? If Malta was a stepping stone in humanity's megalithic journey, what about the even more colossal sites in South America like Tiwanaku, where stones weighing hundreds of tons were fitted together with impossible precision? Could these Andean structures hold the ultimate secret of ancient stone builders? Chapter 10. The Megaliths of South America. Impossible stones when people think of South America's ancient wonders. They often picture Machu Picchu, the Inca citadel, in the clouds. But scattered across the Andes and beyond lies something even more mysterious. Megalithic stonework so massive, so precise, and so strange that even today, engineers and historians struggle to explain it. Take the fortress of high above Cusco. Its massive zigzagging walls are built from enormous limestone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons. The stones aren't uniform or rectangular. They're irregular, almost puzzle-like, and yet they fit together with such precision that you can even slide a piece of paper between them. There's no mortar, no glue. Just stone against stone, locked for centuries. Travel a little further, and you'll find Ollantaytambo, where perfectly carved terraces rise up the mountainside, crowned by megalithic blocks weighing up to 50 tons each. The stone came from a quarry miles away, across a river and up a steep incline. To this day, no one is entirely sure how the builders transported such massive stones through such harsh terrain without wheels, iron tools, or advanced machinery. And then there's Tiwanaku in Bolivia, one of the most mysterious sites on the continent. Here, at nearly 13,000 feet above sea level, lies Puma Punku, a platform of megaliths that some call the strangest stonework on Earth. The blocks are cut with geometric precision, featuring perfect right angles and smooth surfaces, as if shaped by giant drills or advanced saws. Some of these stones weigh over 100 tons and were somehow transported from quarries miles away. Modern engineers admit, even with today's tools, it would be a challenge. What's even more puzzling is the unfinished work. At many sites, you'll find half-carved stones, abandoned quarries, and blocks left scattered as if the builders suddenly stopped. Why did war interrupt construction? Did the civilization collapse? Or is there a deeper mystery? A lost technology or knowledge that vanished before its secrets could be passed down? Archaeologists generally attribute these works to the Incas and earlier cultures that inhabited the Andes. And indeed, the Incas were brilliant builders, masters of stone and mountain engineering. But many locals, and even some researchers, argue that the most massive and precise stonework seems older, as if it belonged to an even earlier civilization, one we barely know. What makes these structures impossible stones is not just their size, but the unanswered question: how were stones this massive moved without wheels? How were angles this precise cut with only stone and bronze tools? How were blocks this heavy lifted and locked into place at such high altitudes? Standing before these megaliths, the scale is overwhelming. The stones seem to defy human effort. They challenge our assumptions about what ancient people could and could not do. And perhaps most importantly, they remind us of something humbling. The past still holds secrets we've barely begun to uncover. But if the mountains of South America give us impossible stones, then the islands of the Pacific give us impossible statues. Next, we journey to Easter Island, where hundreds of giant stone faces silently watch the horizon, and their story is just as haunting. Chapter 11. Shared Knowledge or Lost Civilization. As we've journeyed across continents, from the plains of England to the mountains of Peru, from the islands of the Pacific to the deserts of the Middle East, one pattern keeps repeating: humanity's obsession with building in stone on a scale that defies logic. But the biggest question remains: why are these sites so similar when their builders were worlds apart? Mainstream archaeology offers a clear explanation. This is the story of parallel genius. Ancient peoples everywhere shared the same needs. They looked to the sky for guidance, tracked the movements of the sun and stars, and wanted to anchor their beliefs in something permanent. Stone was the universal answer. Heavy, durable, eternal. Whether in Europe, Asia, or the Americas, the human mind naturally converged on the same solution. And yet, the similarities go deeper than simple function. Across these sites, we see precise astronomical alignments with solstices, equinoxes, and star systems. Stones weighing dozens or hundreds of tons, moved without wheels or modern machinery. Construction techniques where blocks are fitted so tightly together that they resist earthquakes and erosion even today. Cultural myths that describe knowledge given by gods, sky beings, or ancient teachers. These patterns fuel an alternative theory that somewhere in our distant past there may have been a lost civilization, one that possessed advanced knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and architecture. When it disappeared, fragments of its wisdom may have been passed on to later cultures, showing up in their megalithic masterpieces. Supporters of this theory point to sites like Göbekli Tepe, which dates back over 11,000 years, long before farming or writing were thought to exist. They argue that the conventional timeline of civilization may need to be rewritten. If hunter-gatherers could carve and arrange multi-ton pillars with cosmic precision, maybe humanity's story is older, richer, and more complex than we ever imagined. Of course, most archaeologists remain cautious. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. No clear proof of a global advanced civilization has yet been found. But even skeptics admit there are still huge gaps in our understanding. And sometimes the stones themselves seem to whisper that we're missing part of the story. So, which is it? Shared knowledge, the natural creativity of human beings, reinventing solutions across time and space. Or a lost civilization, erased from history, but leaving behind echoes carved in stone. The truth may be somewhere in between. What's certain is that these megaliths continue to unite us in wonder. They connect the ancient world with our modern one, reminding us that curiosity, imagination, and determination have always been part of what it means to be human. But as we stand in awe of these ancient stones, one final question remains. What do they really mean for us today? In our closing chapter, let us explore the legacy of the megaliths and what they still have to teach us in the modern world. Chapter 12. Legacy of the Stones. What they teach us today when we look at these megaliths today. It's easy to get lost in the mystery. We ask how they were built, who built them, and why. But maybe the deeper lesson I sent about the past at all. Maybe it asks about the present. These stones remind us that human beings are capable of extraordinary things, even without modern technology. They show us the power of imagination, cooperation, and persistence. Ancient builders didn't have cranes or computers, yet they achieved feats that still challenge our understanding. That's not just a story about them, it's a reminder for us. If they could do the impossible, maybe we can too. They also teach us humility. For all our modern advances, there are still questions we cannot answer. These structures stand as a silent challenge to keep exploring, keep questioning, and never assume we've figured it all out. History isn't a straight line. It's a puzzle with missing pieces. And every stone, every monument, every mystery is an invitation to keep searching. And perhaps most importantly, the megaliths remind us of connection. Across continents, across centuries, people looked up at the same sky, dreamed of the same sun and stars, and left behind monuments that still inspire us today. They weren't just building for themselves. They were building for the future, for us. So, the next time you see an image of Stonehenge, or read about the Moai statues of Easter Island, or watch the sun rise over the pyramids of Giza, remember, these aren't just relics. They're messages across time, carved in stone, whispering the same truth. We were here, we dared to dream, and we wanted to be remembered. If you've enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of the megaliths, let's keep the conversation going. What do you think? Were these monuments simply the result of human creativity and persistence? Or do they point to a deeper, forgotten chapter of our history? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if you want more explorations into the hidden corners of history and science, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and join our community here on Decoding History and Science. Together, we'll keep unraveling the secrets of our past, one story at a time. Because history isn't just about where we've been. It's about where we're going.